they would go at each other because they're like, no, you're wrong. This is what he said. The Course talks a lot about names and your name, God's name, the name of God. Does a really good job of explaining, the principles behind that concept. I know a lot of people believe that actually once we created language, the language itself actually separated us from each other. It stopped us from being able to communicate psychically and from being able to communicate with plants and with other animals the way other animals and plants communicate. It sort of severed us from that. We didn't get smarter. We actually went in the other direction. We think our language and all of our books and all of our stuff makes us smarter, but this concept, it actually doesn't. It disconnects us. So, and this is why, like original languages, were still very close. They were vibrational. The words it was more about how a thing felt. The words sort of vibrationally describe the feeling of a thing. And so there are lots of different ways to interpret a word based on who was hearing the word. So that's why the words Jesus used, they were, Aramaic, which is one of those root languages. And so when he used words like ruha, which is the word he used for spirit, that word actually, you can translate that word into English. It means spirit, it means breath, it means to breathe, it means atmosphere. It has a lot of different meanings. And if you understand that, then you understand how we're all right. Right? So there are a lot of different ways to feel a thing or understand a thing. And Jesus intentionally used certain words so that there would be plenty of room for each of us to grasp it in our own way. And, there was sort of a ritual at that time where groups of people that had heard the master speak in different places at different times, those groups would get together and converse about what they heard the master speak, and they would share their interpretation of what they heard. And it wasn't like they would go at each other because they're like, no, you're wrong, this is what he said. It would be like they understood that each person had a different piece of the puzzle. And so to hear another person's understanding or interpretation of the teaching was to understand it better. But we're not like that anymore, right? For the most part. We argue that, well, how we see it and how we hear it is the right way. And that's what a lot of our conflicts are about. And a lot of wars are about that, right? So in the Rastafarian religion, anybody knows any Rastafari? When they greet each other, they say, "Blessed my Lord." That's how they greet each and every person, whether they've met them before or not. They're walking past down the beach and somebody walks past them, they just say, "Blessed my Lord." For this very reason, they're not making distinctions. Their goal is to see God in each and every one. Blessed my Lord. See the truth and what the Course calls the name of God in each of us, the mark of God. And so this is why if we are willing to let go of our own interpretations, our own perceptions, our own definitions, our decisions about the world, about each other, about circumstances and situations, all of how we've defined it and the names and words we've given it, and if we're willing to relinquish that, just give it up and allow God or Source to show us the truth, there's a possibility to find union in anything, any situation, any experience, and therefore find heaven, the Course says, or find peace. And as you find that, which is really inside you, as you find it inside yourself, it starts to reflect in what seems to be the external world. And this is how we transform the world. And it requires stepping back and relinquishing our will, our need to be right, to be the ones who already know. which if anybody's honest enough, you know you don't know. You don't know anything, right? None of us. You don't know who's telling the truth, who's lying. You don't know what's what. You don't know. This is what's happening with, COVID and all that stuff right now. Nobody knows. Nobody knows any of it. And even the ones who say they know, they don't know. And so if we could just humble ourselves a little bit, say, I don't know, then we'll know. Then there's room to know, for knowledge to come. Knowledge is not of the ego, it's not of us. And knowledge and information, by the way, are not the same thing, according to the Course. Knowledge is knowing like I can give you information about a thing. I can give you information about Limburger cheese and what it tastes like. I can describe how it smells and how it feels in my mouth. And you can think that knowledge, that information has given you knowledge, but it hasn't. It's just information coming from me, my interpretation of a thing. If you want knowledge, you have to have the Limburger cheese. And once you've had it, you're never ever going to really be able to describe it to anybody in a way that's accurate. You do your best, right? So as we speak, as we read words, we do all this, that's not knowledge. It can open us up and make us ready for knowledge. That's really what this work is about. It's what our work as, the Miracle Makers community is about. It's what the Course in Miracles is about. It's not actually giving you knowledge. It's giving you information to help open you up to receiving knowledge. And we've all received knowledge here and there. We may not remember it, or we may deny it, or we may want to hold it down. But once you have it, or you received it in some way, you realize you can't really communicate it in language. Own that you don't really know, and ask to see what is true in that person or that situation, that experience. And it will be given to you in the most gentle way, in a way that you can receive it and can use it in that particular experience, in that particular point in place and time, to move you forward in life. You'll see the truth in a way you can best grasp it in that situation. But it is saying that what you see will bring peace. And if it's what you're seeing is bringing anything less than peace, what you're seeing is not the truth. It is some form of illusion, right? Misinterpretation, the Course calls it. Anytime you're experiencing anything that's bringing anything less than joy or peace, it's the result of a misinterpretation of who and what you are, and who and what the person or people in front of you are, and who and what God is.